Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. This is Dr. Danny, physician, astrologer. Welcome back if you're returning, and shout out to all the new channel members. Today's a recorded video. I am going to take a step back from all of this amazing energy that is going on around us right now, and we're going to look at the bigger picture. We're going to take a look at the next several months, get a look at the lunar cycles, the solar cycle, the planetary cycles, and just reorient ourselves, so we can look forward and see what's coming next. I feel as though the Pisces soup, the energy is clearing out of the air. I feel like more clarity is starting to present itself to my mental faculties as well as the people around me. So I'm very excited about that. I think we have a lot to look forward to. But as always, we want to make sure we look at the sky and then look back at our own chart. So I am going to refer you to several videos that I want you to take a look at along with this video, and they'll pop up on either side of the screen here. Okay. There will be links in the bottom. So if you want to work with me, if you want to get a reading, you want to check your constellational true sky placements, that's a great place to start. I will also leave a link for a free chart calculator. So if you want to look at your chart as we're going through this timeline, you can take a look and see what's happening for you. And I have one announcement that I wanted to talk to you about before I went into the presentation. This is Stellar Foundations. This morning, after a rough night at the hospital, I sat down with my inaugural group of Stellar Foundations, and we did our last class, and it was on Ophiuchus. And I have to say, I just want to leave you guys with just some things to think about. We started this journey in January, and it's a very diverse group of people. Some are quick learners, some are slower learners. Everybody learns a little bit differently, but the way that Stellar Foundations is designed, it accommodates all of them. And what is so profoundly beautiful are our office hour meetings. So when we get together during the 13 weeks of Stellar Foundations, we have 6 2-hour office sessions, either on a Monday night or a Saturday morning. And the last one was this morning. And I have to tell you that it was such a wonderful process to watch. And the way that I am teaching constellational astrology to include Ophiuchus is to bring you through the cosmic healer's journey, that last incarnation that we're on, and show you all of the archetypes through that lens, and landing in the very last week in Ophiuchus. And the discussion we had this morning was nothing short of beautiful. Just some amazing transformations and healings, because it is when you have group learning like that, and it's a safe space to do that, you can really explore your own chart. And before you really start offering, services to other people, you want to really know your own chart. And this is a process that does embodiment. And what's so nice is that in 2 weeks, on Monday, May 12th, I'm starting another round of Stellar Foundations. And if you've been thinking about it, if you've been getting emails from me, if you've been seeing my posts, and you want to join, I think it's going to be one of the best things you ever do if this is calling to you. Um, I have pricing options, payment plans. If you've had a class with me, I will work with you. You'll have your own special coupon code. So if you've already invested in parts of the program, that will be reimbursed to you. You get the software, you get help setting it up. Um, you can come back. So what these folks that were completed the 13 weeks with me, they're going to be coming back to the next round. They're going to be sharing their experiences as they start working with what they've learned in the past 13 weeks. So you don't have to have all the modules done in 13 weeks. You can keep coming back and you keep coming to the office hours. And I think that's really the best experience of the whole thing. So I invite you to explore it. The links are below. If you don't want to do the full program, I have Stellar Foundations Light. It's a monthly thing. I just want a 4-month commitment, and you'll get all the technical stuff for astrology, and you'll get to meet with us during our office hours, and also have access to the Facebook group. And you can keep coming, as long as you're part of the group. It's for people that are sort of already embodied, like they know what Aries energy is, but they have no idea how to read it in a chart. So that's what Stellar Foundations Light is for. So I have that option this time as well. So please, I encourage you, if it's calling to you, check it out. If it's not, thank you so much for listening, and we will get into the good stuff today. So we're going to go basically from right now to about November. And what we'll do is we'll go through each of the luminaries' larger cycle. And so it will be rapid fire astrology. It's mostly a schedule, mostly a look out for these dates kind of a thing. And of course, in my usual fashion, I have a very detailed timeline for you and PowerPoint, but we're going to break it down. And it's something we're going to be using for the next several months. It almost feels as if right now is a new year, you know. And being that Easter is tomorrow, which is very much, one of our Western holidays, it feels like a reset. When in actuality, the story of Easter is about a rebirth. Okay, so yeah, and then the last announcement I have is my book. So the book of the 13th sign, Ophiuchus, and the astrology they don't want you to see should be available, fingers crossed, by April 26th. And I'll have more official announcements later on in the week. But all that's going on in my life right now. And I'm super excited about the future. And I'm super excited to share this timeline with you. So please give me a thumbs up if you love this video. Subscribe if you're lurking. Share the content. Let people know that there's like an actual constellational timeline out there that they can refer back to. And of course, as we move forward in the future, I'll be doing individual videos to update each specific section of energy. But I just want you to feel into the rhythm of the cosmos the way that uh, me and my colleagues do, the way I and my colleagues feel into these rhythms. It's not just about, oh, I'm a Cancer sun in the third house, or, you know, it's, the sun is in its fifth house from mine and it's, affecting this area of my life. There's a lot more that you can get when you really dive into it. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen and we will get into this. So, I have all these PowerPoints open because a lot of the content I'll pull from uh, other presentations that I do. I just want to make sure I'm on the right one. I pull from other presentations that I do in order to pull together a different perspective. So some of these slides will be repeats for you when we go over other but hopefully there's some new information in here. And so we're going to talk about the major astrological events for pretty much the rest of 2025. And I'm calling it a new timeline because I've literally, over the course of the last month or so, diving into the Venus retrograde, diving into the Mercury retrograde, this eclipse energy, all of it being in mystical, dreamy, juicy Pisces, has been really a foggy time as well. Non-linear, acausal, so to speak. Events that make no sense appear to make sense later. Things that did make sense no longer make sense. And so I'm not really sure how that's going to manifest in terms of my content. I let the stars guide me. And so we're going to look at this larger timeline, and then as the days and weeks click forward, we'll see what is waiting to be discovered. So these are the luminaries that I wanted to cover. We'll dive into sun first. We'll do moon and eclipses. Then we'll get into the inner planets and then the outer planets. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Saturn and Neptune conjunction that's coming this year. That's by far and away one of the biggest events that we'll be experiencing because this is a generational energy, that Saturn Neptune conjunction. The last time it happened was in 1989. And it was in the constellation of Sagittarius. I do have a Neptune video that I will link below for you guys, or you can click either corner so you can check that out. And also, I have Neptune through the constellations that I'm going to be releasing from the membership playlist. I want you guys to have that as we move forward. So when you look in your chart and you know where your Neptune is, you can refer to that video. And then I will also be releasing a technical video around your solely lunar cycle, which is both of those will be linked below or in the top corner as this video is produced. So let's get into this. All right, the sun is first. I really loved the way that timeline map that we've been using for the retrogrades worked for me in terms of just keeping all of the complicated energy organized. And so what I've done is I have refreshed it. I've kind of put all that energy behind us because indeed it is behind us. There are still reverberations, which I will show you, that will echo forward in time for us, as well as coming eclipses and events that will echo backward in time. And I like looking at it as a timeline. And so what I've done here is I've shown you in color on this timeline. This is approximately 200 days. So we're going from April 15th to November 5th. And what I have done is I've taken this glyph of our sun and I have highlighted the days that are in our constellational system, the transits of the sun, because that's how astrologers speak. They say it's this season or that season. And it's mostly based on their solar seasonal calendar of the tropical system, which is an astrological overlay of the existing Gregorian calendar. So every time you flip that 28 to 31 day calendar, January through December, you're also flipping one astrological calendar. And it doesn't represent the sky necessarily. In some spots it does, but not all the time. So for example, right now when I'm doing this video, it's April 19th, and the sun is actually about to transit into the constellation of Aries. While it has been Aries quote unquote season for tropical astrologers since the equinox. And that's just how they do it. They change over their quote unquote signs around the 19th to the 22nd of every month. So every sign is 30 degrees or last 30 days long because the sun will move 1 degree per day. So this would be Taurus for tropical. This would be Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and Libra. Okay. Then what you see on the actual timeline. So underneath of it is the tropical key. So if you're watching this video and you follow tropical astrology and you're used to these signs, this is your key to see where the actual sun is going to be while we discuss this timeline, because I speak in terms of constellational astrology. This to me is just like using the dates. And since we all speak in dates, I speak in dates, but I use the actual sky. So the sun will be transiting into the constellation of Aries right around the 20th, 21st of April. And then these are the date divisions for our constellations. You can see how they're different sizes, right? So Aries is 21 degrees. Taurus is like 33 degrees, I think, 34 degrees. Gemini is short. Cancer is short. But Leo's a little longer, about 38 degrees, and Virgo's huge. Virgo's like 45 or something like that. So you can see that they're different lengths of time. And that's how I will be referring to the moons. So that's why we have to start with the sun. That's why I have to go through this obvious energy with you so that you understand that when we speak about these moons, that's why I call this full moon in this constellation, not necessarily what the tropical astrologers are following. It's the same position in the sky. It's just tropical astrology is an overlay. It's like wallpaper covering up the actual wall. So here are the constellational sun transit dates, okay, or constellational star sign dates, as I have affectionately been calling it. And you can see I start at the beginning of the year because January 1st starts here. And our timeline starts with Aries. That's where we're starting. So we're starting right here. So Aries is here. Taurus is here. You guys get it. And that's how we'll be going through it. The timeline might be off a day or two, but again, we're not going to split hairs over that. It's the general energy. What you're seeing here with the change of the colors is the energy of the sun moving through these constellations. So what is sun? Sun is the highest expression of our spiritual self. It's the connection to the light codes of source. It transmits and reflects back to us what's going on in our internal world. And when the sun leaves the house of Pisces and moves into the house of Aries, which is what's going to happen in a couple of days, we get different light codes. We get different energy. I can already feel like a breath of initiatory fresh air energy, like Aries is ready to go. I can feel that in the air. I know that that's coming. I'm not getting ready to go into Taurus season, not yet, not for another 3 weeks. Okay, so I hope you guys are vibrating at that level, because when you do, the solar energy is more aligned to your own natal chart. Okay, so that's how we'll be reading the waves of sun energy. So we have a wave of Aries energy, followed by a wave of Taurus energy, and a wave of Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo to get us into November. All right, and I want to prove it to you. Okay, so I am using this obviously CGI interface with stellarium-web.org that takes actual astronomical data and gives us a visual representation that is manipulatable on our screen. And this is what we get. We get these beautiful, and you all have seen me using Stellarium before, but I went ahead and I went to 421, and I positioned my screen to put the sun in the middle. And indeed, you can see sun between Pisces and Aries. This is the same spot in the sky for tropical. It's just that tropical calls this part of the sky Taurus. That's the sign of Taurus. I hope that makes sense. We're not actually trying to change tropical astrology. We're basically saying, yes, we agree that the sun is in the same place in the sky, but we don't call this part of the sky Aries. For me personally, I like just getting rid of the middleman, getting rid of stuff that's in the way, and considering Aries energy for this cosmic body to be transmitting itself through. All right, so that happens on April 21st. On May 13th is the sun's transit into Taurus. I wanted to just check with the sky, just make sure I wasn't messing with you guys. So this is when the sun transits over the Pleiades. This is also the Taurus is my ascendant. So as the sun moves through Taurus, I'm getting that sort of end of 12th house, beginning of first house energy. Really nice to look for. So wherever Taurus is in your chart, that sun will be transiting through that house. So for example, if you have Taurus in the 10th house, the month of May, the sun is going to be moving through your 10th house. Okay. This is the beginning of Gemini season. And in fact, you can see Jupiter and Sun conjunction right here at the Silver Gate. Look that up in the Ascension Glossary if you don't know what that is. This is the intersection of the galactic Milky Way plane with the solar system plane. So this is the solar system ecliptic, this horizontal line, and this is the Milky Way ecliptic. Orion is holding up the sun right here, and Jupiter in his hands between Taurus and Gemini. This is going to be a very, very nice time for us. Venus is a morning star. Her maximum Western elongation, we'll look at her timeline here in just a little bit, will be on May 31st. So what you're going to notice is over the next several months until January of next year, these two are going to get closer and closer as they both move this way. That's in June. This is the transit into Cancer. So this is the beginning of Cancer, the end of Gemini. Now, here's where it's going to get a little tricky. Okay. Our astronomical boundaries and the boundaries that I use for my astrology are a little bit different. So while this is our midpoint boundaries, transition from Cancer into Leo, it may benefit us to move it just a little bit this way. So if you have very early Leo energy, like from 8-7 to about 8-11, you may still very much identify with Cancer energy. Okay, this is what happened to me. So the sun is right here on August 4th, not over here in Leo. So that's when I realized that there was a discrepancy. And it makes so much more sense for me to be a Cancer sun and a Mars Leo rather than a Leo Sun Virgo Mars. While that's subtle, there is a difference and it expresses itself differently. This, for me, now this is my opinion, expresses my soul guided purpose and internal energy more authentically than my tropical chart. There's some things that jive. Tropical can be accurate to some degrees, especially when you're talking about houses and aspects. Like, what does a sun trine moon do? It's the same thing in both charts. Sun trine moon is sun trine moon in both charts. It's just, and if you use the 12 equal houses, the houses will also be the same. So if you've got a first house moon and a 10th house sun, that's going to be the same for you in both charts. It's just your moon sign will be different in tropical than where it actually is in the sky. So this is September moving into Virgo. So Virgo starts on September 14th. So those of you that thought you were Virgos, are actually Leos. Isn't that interesting? And I know a lot of former Virgos that are very happy about this, but I also know some Virgos that liked being Virgos and don't can't really identify with Leos yet. But there's a little bit of denial here in this part of the sky. This is when the sun moves out of Virgo. So this is where the alignment between tropical and constellational gets very, very off, because this is tropical Libra right here. And this is tropical Scorpio where Libra is. So this is tropical Scorpio here. So those of you that are Scorpio moons or Scorpio suns in tropical, you might actually have Libra suns or Libra moons. So if you don't identify with the deep brooding nature of Scorpio, if you aren't interested in the depths and the dark and the secrets and this, the sex, death, and secrets, then it's because you might actually be a Libra. Or you might have a different kind of, if you are into that, you might have a different planet in Scorpio that you thought was in Sagittarius before. Okay, so I encourage you to check out your own constellational chart or at least learn about it, download that free chart and just sit with that, see what that feels like for you. But this is where we end the sun transit. So I wanted to just put the dates together for you so you could see if so I'll just use myself as the example. August 4th fell right here in Leo. But when I look at the actual sky, I'm a Cancer. Okay. And then my moon also previously was an Aquarius moon, and now it's a Capricorn moon. It's interesting. And you can resonate with one or the other. There's really no good or bad. It's just I feel for me personally, I feel like you have to go through another layer to get to this anyway. And there's so many derivations that you can do with tropical and the houses, calculations and things like that you're almost not seeing the forest through the trees just to get at some accurate information. Whereas in my experience, once I read someone's information through their actual stars, it connects, it clicks. So slide 13 too, by the way, we're going to do decoding a little bit in the future. I think I do want to incorporate more of that into my work. All right, let's talk about moon and eclipses. So let's whip out the timeline. Here's our sun. We've explained the death out of that, but it's the foundation for what we're discussing and where these planetary energies are in the next several months. It's good to know this and to look ahead so you can prepare. Here are your new moons. Now, a lot of astrologers and a lot of people that follow astrology tangentially make a big deal about the full moons. And there's good reason for that. Full moons, moon is emotional energy. It's movement of emotional energy. It's how people secrete their thought forms into the ether, that sort of collect and create and manifest. And so when we're unconsciously emoting during full moons, that's why things are a little bit crazy. If you look at some stock market indices, you'll notice that there is inflections with the lunar cycle. About every 2 weeks there's an up and a down and an up and a down that corresponds to the lunar new moon and full moon energies. So what I've done is I've given you your new moons for the next 7 months or 6 months, just 7 months. The next one coming up is in Aries on the 27th. And the reason we know that that new moon is in Aries because a new moon is a moon-sun conjunction. And now that we know where the sun will be, we know that this is going to be an Aries new moon. Now, the tropical system will call it a Taurus new moon because it's the same spot in the sky for them. They just call it something different. Taurus new moon, Aries new moon. I like Aries new moon. I like Aries new moon right now because of this shift of energy that I feel where everything has kind of been reworked, re-examined, reevaluated, discarded if not needed. That's that Mars Pluto purging energy. Get rid of it if it's not working. Do it surgically. And now there's a fresh sort of tabula rasa here. This is a fresh start, I feel like. A fresh timeline, a fresh new moon coming up next Sunday. This is really where the cycles start. If you're going to follow lunar cycles, you want to get the gist of the lunar cycle at the new moon. It's the beginning of the cycle. It's where the soil is ripe for you to plant seeds of intention energetically through your thought forms, through your meditations, and through your imagination. So new moons, mark these on your calendar. These are probably, by the way, the most important dates that come to you in a monthly cycle are your new moons, and they're very regular. We can time them. We can predict them. Okay. These are your full moons. Now, I put those in second because I wanted to emphasize that the new moon is the beginning of your lunar cycle. And I did a video for the members only that is being released with this video as well. It's called Locking in or Unlock Your Solely Lunar Cycle. And I want you to watch that video and then come back and rewatch this section. Because when you know what house this lunation is in for you on your natal chart, you can focus some of that lunar energy, that full moon energy that's coming for you into that house. So, for example, let's say you were born on the new moon. Let's say you were born 4/27. For those of you born that day, happy birthday in advance. Happy solar return. Okay. So if your birthday is 4/27, you have an Aries sun, you have a new moon starting. This is a first house lunation from here to here, which means this lunation, because it's your birthday month, is all about you. It's all about the I am. And subsequent lunations will be following the houses. Okay. So next month, when we have the Ophiuchus full moon, we have the Taurus new moon. This is going to be second house energy for you. And how lucky is that, you Aries birthdays? Because you literally get to like enjoy the abundance of these transits as the sun moves through this space. There's literally going to be all kinds of beautiful, juicy Jupiter energy, especially through Gemini. So yeah, these next 3 or 4 lunations are going to be very, very nice in terms of self-worth, abundance, collecting things, starting new projects. So if you're an Aries birthday, that's how the lunations will play out for you. On the other hand, if you are a Taurus sun in our constellational system, this lunation is a 12th house lunation. This one right here, because it's the last of your 13-month solely lunar cycle. Your birthday month becomes your first house lunation. The month after becomes your second house lunation. And we'll go over that more in a coming video I will be doing live for the new moon. For this particular new moon, we're going to go over that cycle. So I'd like you to go check out the Unlocking Your Solely Lunar Cycle to see where you are, and then come back and rewatch this part. And then when you watch it live, it will be so clear to you what you need to do, because I do about a 3 to 5 minute prediction for you guys based on your birthday sign or constellation. So that's our solely lunar cycles. I just wanted to prove to you where these full moons are going to be, because you can also use stellarium for that purpose. The next full moon coming on May 12th is in Libra. That is a Libra full moon. Then we have Scorpio, the galactic center. So the sun will be at the silver gate and the moon will be at the golden gate. And this is a very powerful portal. Whenever the moon and sun line up on the galactic node with the ecliptic, very strong energy. So great time for reconnecting, downloading, upgrading spiritual cosmic codes, things like that. This is a great lunation for that. So our second lunation moon is in Ophiuchus for the full moon right there. The one after that is the Sagittarius moon. So this is usually an axis of like truth and wisdom when you have that full moon. Capricorn Cancer axis is typically about connecting, nurturing the self versus striving. What is your public image versus your inner self? When that opposition looks at each other, is the reflection coherent, or are you seeing a distorted reflection of your public image versus your inner self? And then you've got the moon sort of on the cusp of Pisces and Aquarius in September. And this is energy we've been very used to the last several months, with everything kind of moving through this space. But obviously, moving from the collective cohort, futuristic thinking, collaborative efforts into universal love and oneness. So this is very much a peaceful moon. I like these Pisces moons. We get 2 Pisces moons. The second one is in October, and then the last full moon will be later on. Now, we also have eclipses. We have a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse is this Pisces moon here. So this will be the lunar eclipse, and then the solar eclipse will be the Virgo new moon. So what's interesting about this eclipse that's coming up in September is that the lunar nodes have precessed. By this time, we will have South Node in Leo, and we will have North Node in Aquarius. This particular eclipse cycle, both the lunar and the solar, are very far in and away from the main part of the populated Earth. We won't even see it. It's almost a penumbral kind of deal where you can barely see the shadow, and very remote locations where there's totality. When the sun and moon are conjunct, they'll be in Virgo, even though the lunar nodes are right there at the cusp and in Leo and or Aquarius for the north node. So that'll be a shift for our collective evolution, but we're still going to have some resonant energies remaining from the past 2 or 3 years of these previous eclipse cycles. So there'll be some resonance there with that. So speaking of resonance, each of these individual eclipses cause what's called I like to call it a fourth dimensional ripple in space-time. I call them eclipse points. And essentially what that it means is, aside from the obvious lunar cycle of the new moon and then the full moon and then the new moon and then the full moon, we also have points at which the moon will travel over the previous eclipse point again. It's a shorter cycle than the phase cycle. So the phase cycle of the moon is 29 days, but the sidereal cycle of the moon, when the moon returns to the same spot in the sky, like let's say you're looking at 0 degrees of Leo, it will take the moon 27 days to go from 0 degrees of Leo to 0 degrees of Leo. And we do that through eclipse points. And so I've marked those here if you want to track those. Now, these count backward in time because we had a solar eclipse on the 29th. So this first point coming is the first reverberation from that energy. Okay. So wherever that eclipse occurred in your house, the moon will be traveling over that same degrees, which I want to say was 19 degrees of Pisces. That means that the moon on this particular day, before it becomes the new moon in Aries, will be at 19 degrees of Pisces. It's very quick. So you may get some rippling out eclipse energy. This is the second 27-day interval. So these intervals are shorter than these phase intervals because this is about the new moon to new moon. This is about when the moon actually hits that particular degree in Pisces. 19 degrees, 19 degrees, 19 degrees. Okay. You can keep going, but I didn't want to get too confusing because I wanted to show you the coming ripples from the next eclipse. So this is the next solar eclipse in Virgo. I don't remember the degrees, but the 0 line indicates the precise degree where the moon and the sun are conjunct. And when the moon approaches that degree before that eclipse is right here and right here and right here. So what we're getting is 2 interference waves basically coming off from the future eclipse and coming off from this past eclipse. See what's happening here? You see these reverberations of energies? So you're almost getting 2 ripples connecting to one another. And it's going to happen right after the Ophiuchus full moon, and the Gemini new moon will be the center point of that. This will be a pretty impactful new moon and lunation, I think. These will be reaping energies, and this is going to be another reset energy right here at the end of June. Get ready for that. This is solstice energy. So that liminal space that we feel during the winter solstice, for those of you in the southern hemisphere, this is your winter solstice. So you're going to be going through the crunch of those 2 waves compressing on you in space-time. And again, just to clarify, this is the post-eclipse point for the eclipse that we're going to have in September. So hopefully you all can see that. Those are also dates that I like to watch. Those are up here. We are adding to this calendar. Isn't this fun? So those are the ones that happen after the March eclipse, and these are the dates that happen before the September eclipse. And there's an overlap at the solstice here. Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit. I basically explained eclipse points. The reason it works is because when the moon's ecliptic lines up with the solar system ecliptic, that point in the sky is a node. It is an energetic portal. And when the moon crosses over from the bottom part of the ecliptic to the top part of the ecliptic, or from below to above, you have north node energy. And when it crosses from above to below, you get south node energy. This is Rahu and Ketu. This is the tail of the snake and the head of the snake. And so anytime there's an eclipse, there's almost a thinning of the veil at the points of the tail and the head of the snake. and the snake is our route to gnosis. Okay, it's how you follow the kundalini energy from the root chakra through the crown. Space time has a event that creates a ripple. We can monitor that by watching the mechanics in the sky. It is fourth dimensional, and beyond the scope of this conversation. I do talk about it in other videos, but just know that those are dates that I watch for this reason. Because when those patterns start to overlap or converge, like at the solstices, because that's what's happening, we feel it. We feel the reverberations. Something feels a little funny, a little shaky, You definitely feel it during eclipses. I know I did. And these reverberations can go back up to 12 months, actually. There it is, a nice clean graph. You understand what each of these points mean. Let's see what else we want to get into. Okay, so now we're on to Mercury. Mercury has inflection points in its cycle that are very important to watch for the purpose of manifestation. Mercury is our messenger. Mercury goes to and from the underworld or the spirit world giving messages. That's Hermes. That's what Hermes did. That was his role. We would talk to the humans and then go speak to Hades. So there's this energy that's transferring from spirit to human mind back to spirit. And that's Mercury's cycle. And there is an ebb and a flow to this energy. And it has to do with where Mercury is in its cycle. Mercury is the planet of our mind, but it's not just about what we're thinking. It's about the energy transmissions and receptions. So you're a receiver and a transmitter, but so is Mercury. And Mercury taps into your receiver and transmitter. So as Mercury moves, Mercury's waves change their pattern. They become high frequency and then they spread out and become low frequency and then they come back and they become high frequency. So you get sort of boluses of high frequency energy of Mercury transmitting to you right around the retrograde. We just finished a retrograde right around the eclipse, but Mercury cycles are quick. So from superior conjunction to superior conjunction, when Venus and when Mercury and Sun are conjunct, but Mercury is on the other side of the Sun. This is the beginning of Mercury's cycle. This is 116 days. Okay, so as we move through time, Mercury swings around, does this retrograde loop, and then goes forward again. So if you're mindful during Mercury's entire cycle, like if you can keep your attention span on it for, the 3 or 4 months that we have a Mercury cycle, you'll notice that when you act with intentionality, set intentions around this time frame, that things manifest around this time when we have the inferior conjunction. So it's an intention manifestation cycle at the very least. This is also ripe for creativity, receiving downloads, so like channeling. So if you're a channeler, this is a great time for you. All right. So that's the Mercury cycle. Let's look at Mercury's transit dates. Mercury is a very busy planet. I put these both up here. So Mercury will only be in Aries for 11 days. And then we move into Gemini, and then we move into Cancer, and then we move into Leo, and then we retrograde in Cancer and go backward at 0 degrees Leo, or the very late degrees of Leo, and then direct again, transiting through the constellation of Leo, and then Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. So this time frame is the retrograde time frame, these dates right here. So retrograde starts July 18th and ends on August 10th. The shadow period starts July 4th and ends on 8/19. This is shadow just means intensity. So as we go through time, the energy will peak like this, and then it will go down. Okay, you've seen those intensity graphs that I've shown on previous discussions. So I encourage you to go back and check out my Mercury videos so that you can get a better sense of what I mean when I talk about these particular inflection points. MEE means maximum eastern elongation. MWE means maximum western elongation. MEE is an evening star Mercury. MWE is a morning star Mercury. Okay, so this is when it switches. So it'll be evening, and then it will switch, and then it will be a morning star. If you can even see Mercury. A lot of times nowadays with the pollution and light pollution and pollution, we can't really see Mercury very well. Now, if you're in clear skies, maximum eastern and western elongations are the perfect time to see Mercury. So if you like to stargaze and you like to observe planets, maximum western elongation right now is the best time to do that. So you have to get up before dawn to see Mercury. All right, let's get into Venus. So Venus is I oh my gosh. So last Friday I said, okay, let's do a Venus direct talk. And I went over my process for how I display the energies of Venus, and this is my time map, and I use very, very large orbs. So that could basically the conjunction of Venus and Neptune within a 7-degree orb lasts the entire span of this particular calendar, as well as her conjunction to Neptune. So this whole month, and during the eclipses, like the last half of March and the first half of April have been just this bath of Pisces soup energy for Venus. It's been trine to Mars the whole time, conjunct Neptune, conjunct Saturn, conjunct the North Node, and conjunct Mercury, and sextile to Uranus. And so I went over all of these energies in the last Venus video. It was a couple, like maybe 2 Fridays ago. So do check that out. And I went through this calendar right here, and you'll notice that we are still in it. So if today's the day I'm recording this video, we're about to enter Aries season, and we still have just all of this. It's just we're gonna have less of the mental going on. That mental confusion, I think, is gonna go away because Mercury is moving away from Neptune. Mercury is going to conjunct Chiron in a few days, and, it'll be discussions around healing, discussions around luck, maybe optimistic thinking perhaps because it is Pisces. It just depends on where your Chiron is. Okay, so as we move through the month here, Venus is going to some of those energies are going to wane off as she gets out of Pisces. She'll be in Pisces until like June 6th, I think. Yeah, let's look at her calendar. So here are her inflection points from her retrograde. Now, if you're new to my channel and you don't know what these numbers mean, you need to go back to that mega decode playlist and I explain why we count down and away from. It's similar to the eclipse points energy where you have these waves of pulse waves of eclipse. It's the same thing, but it's more of a spiral wave for Venus. And it spirals out using the Fibonacci sequence, which encodes phi or the golden ratio. So we still have some Venus inflection points to deal with her star point, which was so these are counting away from March 22nd. So 34 days ago from on April 25th is when Venus was at her height in her retrograde. And the reason I'm doing that is counting down from it is because it's a rare event. It only happens every 20 months. We won't see another one of these until like October or November of 2026. And this cycle, if it's hard enough for you to pay attention to lunar cycles, and you are barely tackling your Mercury cycles because just of sort of attention span, this one's definitely takes a lot more focus to follow because it is so long. But that's why I've added it to this timeline. So you guys can see that there's a monitoring of these energies and their pulses. So it's a clock. It's cyclic, The bell tolls on these days. And it's interesting because the 34th day away from 322 is also the first eclipse point from the 329 eclipse. So these 2 days are coinciding. So I'll probably talk about that in my next live stream where we'll do a little forecast video for next week. Day 55 is on the 16th of May, and then on the 16th or the 19th of June, which also corresponds to another eclipse point. And these the ones that are like square away, which would be the threes, are usually more impactful. So we have a Venus bump and we've got an eclipse bump hitting on the same day on June 19th. And then the energy is waning off here, 144th day. The 233rd day, which is the next number in the Fibonacci sequence, is on the 10th of November. So 5 days post timeline, you would see the number 233. Okay. So let's look at Venus transit dates. Yeah, like I said, she's going to be in Pisces until June 8th. So the whole Venus resonance is going to be all around that Pisces energy, still in that Pisces soup. But once she passes 21 degrees of Pisces, which is somewhere around here, then she will no longer be going over the old terrain of Pisces. She'll be forging new roads. She'll be moving over the energy of Chiron and then transiting into Aries on June 6th. She'll spend, and then she'll be within her, her normal transit times. So we'll get back to more of those calendars as Venus makes her transitions into these different constellational energies. All right. I want to show you this real quick, just to show you that when Venus does hit the maximum Western elongation on May 31st, she will be right here, basically on the cusp of Aries and Taurus. So she'll be just kind of hanging out right here. The sun will be right here. So this signifies the actual date of the calendar, wherever the sun is. But if you get up in the morning, you will see Venus at her highest Eastern expression. So the morning star expression. This is the highest it will be. And over the course of the next several months through this timeline, you will see Sun and Venus get closer. So she'll start her descent. And you'll notice she gets closer and closer and closer. Okay. And then probably the end of November, early December, Venus will completely occult behind the sun and we won't see her for about 2 months. And that's a hard part of the cycle for those of you that are following Venus energy. It's a time for rebirth. It's a time for conception. It's a time for thinking about what the next larger creative cycle will be about. So you see, guys, I'm locked into these greater cycles and I'm not going anywhere. We have a whole story of the cosmos to discuss and talk about in the coming months. So definitely check out my links below if you want to work with me, if you want to study with me. I love helping people do this and get through this because the transformation is so profound. I mean, it's really, really amazing. This is everything we've talked about so far. I just wanted to pile it all on so that in my future videos, when you see this timeline, you don't gulp. Now, those of you that will be new watching this, in later videos, we'll have to come back to this video to see this timeline get built. But here are Mars transit dates. Mars moves a little slower than everybody else, okay? So Mars is in Cancer right now, and will head into Leo at the end of May, spend some time in Leo, and then head into Virgo in July, and then Libra in October, and then in Scorpio. You guys, after this timeline, the timeline that comes after this one is going to be very, very interesting because you're going to have Mars, Venus, Sun, and Moon all conjoining for the beginning of the new Venus cycle in January. It's going to be basically a pylon in Sagittarius. It'll be really, really interesting. So that all of this is preparing us for the next timeline that we're going to develop at the end of the year. Let's talk about Jupiter. So Jupiter is making some moves as well. Jupiter is currently in Taurus. Again, in these stars right here, Jupiter will move into Gemini on June 6th. Mercury will come and pay Jupiter a visit on the 8th. And that's always nice because that is really just expansive communication. So depending on where your Mercury is, how your Mercury is in the chart will depend on how you resonate with the Jupiter-Mercury conjunction in transit. Because if both of those planets are, let's say, square to your Mercury, you might overdo it a little bit and talk too much. You might... open mouth, insert foot kind of energy. Sun's going to pay Jupiter a visit on the 21st of June. So this will be very nice. This is the summer solstice. So this is going to be a moon, sun, Jupiter conjunction right here in between these two eclipse point energies and the solstice. Hoo-wee. This is going to be some good energy. This is definitely a point that's everything energetically is sort of pointing to for us to pay attention to. Venus is going to conjunct Jupiter on 8/11 in Gemini. This is going to be amazing. Venus and Jupiter together is like the billionaire and the millionaire planet hanging out. They'll both be in Gemini, so they'll be in Mercury's house, which is business and transactions and trade. And so I am not a doomsday person when it comes to the stock market when I see information on this. Again, I'm not giving you financial advice, but I feel like good things are coming in the financial sectors, at least based on constellational astrology. If whatever you do works for you, keep doing it. But if something comes up that you feel like might help you or benefit you and you're feeling that tug from spirit, it might be worth listening to. Jupiter is going to enter Cancer very briefly. We'll stay there for several months at 0 degrees while it goes retrograde. So once it goes into Cancer, Jupiter will slow down, will go retrograde on the 10th of November. stay there for a little while, and then I don't recall the direct date, but it's in 2026. So we won't really have to deal with Jupiter retrograde during the rest of this timeline. But I wanted to give you that date just to keep it in mind, keep it in your brain that it's coming. Let's move on to Saturn and Neptune. I'm going to briefly review what these two together feel like as energies, because I think Neptune's one of the harder planets to talk about in astrology because it's more of a modern construct. We don't have a lot of ancient tomes about what Neptune does in our charts. And to bring this energy together with Saturn is super interesting because when you think about it, they're almost like polar opposites in their energy. Neptune's kind of like groovy and chill, and it's mystical, and it's like no structure. It's all about flow and surrender and nonlinear time and acausal events, where Saturn's like structure, form, time, the end of things, building things, that sort of energy. And when you put them together, you get some interesting archetypes. So I'm going to give you Saturn's highlights this year. Saturn and Neptune are not going to move out of Pisces. They'll be there together the entire year. Right between 5 and 10 degrees of Pisces. Saturn will station retrograde on July 12th. Will conjunct Neptune within 12 arc seconds on July 17th. And then when Neptune stations retrograde, they begin separating again. Okay. And that they perfect their conjunction in their actual like 0 degree orb conjunction in 2026. Saturn will station direct again in November. So a Saturn stationing retrograde, this is going to feel really good. This will actually relieve some of the tension that Saturn feels right now, being in the unfamiliar realm of the mystical energy and conjunct with Neptune. That little kiss that they're going to make in July once Saturn goes retrograde, it always feels good when Saturn goes retrograde. You feel like the shackles come off a little bit. But I always tell people, don't rest on your laurels too much. It simply means that the schoolmaster is in meetings or is taking the summer off, but you still need to keep up with your quote unquote studies. You know, take in the vista, rehydrate, refresh, but stretch those hamstrings and keep climbing, because when Saturn goes direct, if you have not been climbing, you will necessarily have to go back and redo what you've been doing. Okay. Neptune highlights. Neptune stations retrograde on the 4th of July. And again, the Saturn conjunction within 12 arc seconds is on the 17th of July. And Neptune will station direct in December. So let's talk about some of their energies. I've got kind of like 5 keyword categories you might use to help you. And again, check out the Neptune in your birth chart video that I'm going to drop, like Neptune through the constellations. So wherever your Neptune is in your own chart, you can. I did a quick mini read for this Saturn Neptune energy. So structure versus dissolution, right? Saturn builds, Neptune dissolves. Saturn says, define it. Neptune says, just let it melt. And I think when Saturn goes retrograde, he's going to be like, all right, the definition is melting, so that might be the energy of Saturn going retrograde. Neptune going retrograde is also a little bit like the veil lifting a bit. It's almost as if there's more acceptance of the mystical energy. We're just going to be surrendering, and it's going to feel really good, I think, unless we have resistance to it or we try to force it. So when you combine these two, you get the sacred architect, right? So you're building temples of meaning, using your own dreams as blueprints. Practical mysticism, like, teaching astrology, learning astrology, structured spiritual systems. Reiki, for example, understanding the meridians through the Chinese acupuncture system. Then there's time versus timelessness. Saturn is deadlines and aging, and Neptune is dream time, eternity, feeling squishy. So how do you put those two together? You get the time weaver, someone who can integrate linear time with divine timing. And that's exactly what we're doing right now with this timeline, you guys. Okay, that synchronicity, we are doing that. I'm showing you this structure that we can use to weave some of this cosmic energy coming at us, because the planets, even though Saturn's retrograde and it's in a really dreamy place, the planets are still going to stick to their timing. I promise you, the sun will be where we say it is. So astrology and multidimensional. Then you have reality versus illusion. So Saturn is pulling you onto this planet. What comes up must come down, law, cause and effect. And then Neptune is vision, myth, and the collective dream. And so when you put these two together, you get this mystic seer. Like I said, that retrograde Neptune is going to allow us to see through the illusions, and Saturn's going to be the expert that knows exactly how to handle that. Grounding your intuition and discernment. No more spiritual bypassing. It's just clarity with compassion. Like, yeah, this terrible thing happened. And yeah, I feel like crap, but it's okay. I'm just going to let that feeling come and I'm going to let that feeling go. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to feel bad about it. And then finally, there's responsibility versus surrender. So, like, you can go too far into the Neptune Pisces energy and just kind of let go of everything, let it go and flow. And a lot of people can do that. But Saturn, like, you got to do the work. You got to make things happen. So you become the cosmic channel. Things don't take on any form until they have a boundary. Now, boundaries in Pisces are hard, but Saturn is the master of boundaries. Healthy energetic hygiene, protecting if you're an empath and intuitive, know you're protected. Do rituals so that you are assuring yourself that your vessel is safe enough to stream the energy. And then one more. I lied. There's one more. Discipline versus devotion. So Saturn, you got to do the routine, go through it, make it happen every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year. Keep doing it, keep doing it. And Neptune just softens your heart. It makes that routine just a little bit different every time. So you're a devoted disciple, meaning you're in love with your learning. So you're committed to the vision. You do the inner and the outer work to manifest the sacred and walk the dream down to earth. So you're a shepherd. You're a shepherd of those dreams of those mystical dreams in a concrete reality. And then finally, you guys, we have the outer planets of Chiron, Pluto, and Uranus. They're not going to make any major drastic or exciting changes over the next several months, but they are making some connections with the other planets. Chiron, for example, will be conjunct Mercury on the 6th of May. So remember, this is communicating around healing. This is communicating optimism. Or communicating the wound, words that wound as well. Venus is going to conjunct Chiron on the 1st of June. This is bringing creative energy into the space of the wounded healer. This is sexual healing. Chiron will station retrograde on July 30th and station back direct again on January 2nd without any major conjunctions for the rest of the year. Uranus is in Taurus, will be there all year long. And the sun will conjunct Uranus on May 17th. This is bringing through that individual, that revolutionary, that rebellious side of ourselves, expressing it out into the collective. We may see uprisings of energy, revolutionary type energy coming through, which can be good. It can be scary, but it can be good too, because a lot of times these changes come through for us, not against us. We just have to sort of go with it. Mercury will conjunct Uranus on May 24th. And then Venus will conjunct Uranus on July 4th. So Mercury and Uranus together so you've got the two channels of the zodiac, right? So Mercury is sort of like the local energy going back and forth to spirit, using and channeling the here and now, what we need, commerce, trade. Uranus, on the other hand, is got the antenna pointed outward into the cosmic and is bringing down those codes that are new and unique and chaotic. When those two get together, I think this feels very revolutionary. When Sun, Mercury, and Venus spend those 6 weeks transiting over those early degrees of Taurus and go over Uranus, we may see some rebellious, revolutionary kind of energy, uprising kind of energy, unpredictability in terms of money, because that's where Uranus is. He's in the house of money, which is Taurus. So there may be some unexpected opportunities as well as just chaotic happenings that maybe we weren't expecting. So unexpected. Uranus will station retrograde from September 5th to February 3rd. On September 5th, all that chaotic energy will switch and change directions for a little bit. Pluto is also not going anywhere. We're in Capricorn for the rest of the year. Pluto will not have any major personal planet highlights or conjunctions until early next year. We station retrograde on May 4th, so this is the next retrograde that's coming. Pluto is next in line, and then all the other ones follow. And Pluto retrograde is where all of that internal transformation starts to take place. There's an intense breakdown and rebuilding internally to your highest authentic self. We want to get ego out of the way here and really, really listen to the direction that Pluto wants to take you. Pluto's such a powerful planet. Like, it can bring you it can really show you how powerful you are, but you have to set that ego aside. It can't be about gaining power. It's about becoming that power. And the retrogrades are a great time to internalize that and integrate that. Wow, so I think I got through everything. Let's just pile it all on and see, all these dates that we have to look forward to, all of this content that's coming, with this channel, not to mention the numerology and the decoding that we're going to uncover and the synchronicities that we're going to rediscover, through this time frame and the numerology that plays out. I'm just so excited to move forward. It really feels like a new year right now for me. It doesn't feel like like January 1st was the new year. It sort of felt like it was I was still in it, still in the end of it. So anyways, that is my presentation. So check out the 2 videos, the one for the Solely Lunar Cycle, Unlock Your Solely Lunar Cycle, and then Neptune through the constellations. Those were both great resources to sort of watch along with this video. And hopefully this will give you a nice overview of what's to come in the months ahead of us, astrologically speaking. Remember, these stars don't dictate our lives. They give us a framework upon which we can focus our energetic intentions upon. And when it's aligned with the actual sky, it's aligned with our soul's path and our true purpose. So I love you all so much. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you on the next live video. Namaste, my friends.